Hello, my Sagittarius, and welcome to your day. Thank you so much again for joining me. So I have something a little bit different this week. I am doing inspiration tarot card pulls, and I have these poems that I'm reading for you guys. So the poems came from the public domain, and they were like in a list of the top 50. And when I read that the fourth one was called the water, and the fourth sign in the Zodiacs is Cancer, me, and ruled by water, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, I have to do the top 12. This is awesome. So I was going through them at first and reading them and doing what I had to do, you know. I say that like that, but that's not what I mean. Just rereading them, I guess, is what I mean by that, and prepping. Because I didn't want to read them horribly. I've never read these poems before. I didn't want to just totally stumble through it. But here is the caveat, as they say. With that is that yours, Sagittarius, yours. Let's just put this in context. The longest poem, other than yours, was, I think, 60 stanzas, or however you want, 60 lines, 59 lines. Yours, my beautiful Sagittarius, 567 lines. Lucky for me, it seems like a poetic version of like a scene from Lord of the Rings or something. It's called Goblin Market. I'm giving you this little bit of backstory because, one, I want to explain it's a long poem and I didn't pre-read it. I'm going to wing it. I'm just going to go. And two, pause the video, go get yourself some wine and crackers, something to knit, whatever. Get in your comfy pants because this is long and I want you to be comfortable. So, as they say, also, without further ado, my dears, here is your poem. Goblin Market by Christina Georgina Rossetti. Morning and evening, maidens heard the goblin cry, "Come buy our orchard fruits, come buy, come buy." Apples and quinces, lemons and oranges, plump unpicked cherries, melons and raspberries, bloom-down-cheeked peaches, swat-headed mulberries, wild free-born cranberries, crab-apples, dewberries, pineapples, blackberries, apricots, strawberries, all ripe together in summer weather, morns that pass by, fair eves that fly. Come buy, our grapes fresh from the vine, pomegranates full and fine, dates and sharp bulances, rare pears and green gapples, damsons and bilberries, taste them and try, currants and gooseberries, bright firelight bearberries, figs to fill your mouth, citrons from the south, sweet to the tongue and sound to eye. Come buy, come buy. Evening by evening, among the brookside rushes, Laura bowed her head to hear, Lizzie veiled her blushes. Crouching close together in the cooling weather, they clasped their arms and cautioning lips, with tingling cheeks and fingertips. "Lie close," Laura said, pricking up her golden head. "We must not look at goblin men. We must not buy their fruits. Who knows upon what soil they fed their hungry, thirsty roots?" "Come buy," calls the goblin, hobbling down the gleam. "Oh," cried Lizzie, "Laura, Laura, you should not peep at goblin men." Lizzie covered her eyes, covered close lest she should look. Laura reared her glossy head and whispered like the rustling brook, look, Lizzie, down the gleam tramping little men. One hauls the basket, one bears the plate, one lugs the golden dish of many pounds of weight. How fair the vine must grow, those grapes look so luscious. How warm the wind must blow through those fruit bushes. No, said Lizzie, no, no, no. Their offers should not charm us. Their evil gifts would harm us. She thrust her dimpled finger in her ear, shut her eyes and ran. Cautious Laura chose to linger, wondering in which merchant man. One had a cat face, one whiskered a tail, one tramped the rat's pace, one crawled like a snail, one like a wombat proud, obtuse and furry, one like a ratel tumbled hurry-scurry. She heard the voice like voice of a dove's, cooing all together. They sounded like kind and full of loves in the pleasant weather. Laura stretched her gleaming neck like a rush-embedded swan, like a lily from the beck, like a moonlit poplar branch, like a vessel at the launch, when at last restraint had gone. Backwards up the mossy glen turned and trooped the goblin men, with their shrill repeated cry, "Come by, come by!" When they reached where Laura was, they stood stock still upon the moss, leering at each other, brother with queer brother, signaling each other, brother with sly brother. One set down his basket, one reared his plate, one begged to weave a crown of trindles, leaves, and rough nuts brown. Men sell not such in any town. One heaved the golden weight of dish and fruit to offer her. Come by, was still their cry. Laura stared but did not stir, longed but had no money. The whisk-tailed merchant bade her taste in tones as soothe as honey. The cat-faced purred, the rat-faced spoke a word of welcome, and the snail-paced even was heard. One parrot-voiced and jolly cried, "Pretty goblin still for pretty Polly?" One whistled like a bird. But sweet-toothed Laura spoke in haste, "Good folk, I have no coin to take what whereto purloin. I have no copper in my purse, I have no silver either. All my gold is on the first that shakes the windy weather above the rusty heather." "You have much gold upon your head," they answered all together, "but from us the golden curl." She clipped a precious golden lock. She dropped a tear more rather than pearl, then sucked their fruit globes then sucked their fruit globes fair or red, sweeter than honey from the rock, stronger than man rejoicing wine, clearer than water flowed that juice. She never tasted such before. How should that it cloy with length of us? She sucked and sucked and sucked the more. Fruits which that unknown orchard bore, she sucked until her lips were sore, then flung the emptied rinds away, but gathered up one kernel stone, and knew not was it night or day, as she turned home alone. Lizzie met her at the gate, full of wise upbraidings. "Dear, you should not stay so late. Twilight is not good for maidens. Should not loiter in the glen, in the haunts of goblin men. Do you not remember Jenny, how she met them in that moonlight, took their gifts both choice and many, ate their fruit and wore their flowers, plucked from bowers where summer ripens all hours? But ever in the moonlight she pined and pined away, sought them by night and day, found them no more, but dwindling and grew gray. then fell with the first snow, while to this day no grass will grow where she lies low. I planted daisies there a year ago that never blow. You should not loiter so. Nay, hush, said Laura. Nay, hush, my sister. I ate and ate my fill, yet my mouth waters still. Tomorrow night I will buy more, and kissed her. I have done with sorrow. I'll bring you plums tomorrow, fresh on their mother's twigs, cherries worth getting. You cannot think what figs my teeth have met in, what melons icy cold, piled on the dish of gold, too huge for me to hold, what peaches with velvet nape, place-suited grapes without one seed. Odorous indeed must be the mead whereon they grow, and pure the wave they drink, with lilies at the brink, and sugar sweet their sap. Golden head by golden head, like two pigeons in one nest, folded in each other's wings, they lay down in their curtained bed, like two blossoming on a stem, like two flakes of new fallen snow, like two wands of ivory, tipped with gold of awful kings. Moon and stars gazed in at them, wind sang to them lullaby, lumbering owls forbore to fly, not a bat flapped to and fro round their rest, cheek to cheek and breast to breast, locked together in one nest. Early in the morning, when the first cock crowed his warning, neat like bees and sweet and busy, Laura rose with Lizzie, fetched in honey, milked the cows, aired and set the rights the house, kneaded the cakes of whitest wheat, cakes for the dainty mouths to eat, next churned the butter, whipped the cream, fed their poultry, sat and sewed, talked as modest maidens should, Lizzie with an open heart, Laura with an absent dream, one content, one sick in part, one warbling for the mere bright day's delight, one longing for the night. At length slow evening came. They went with pitchers to the reedy brook, Lizzie most placid in her look, Laura more like a leaping flame. They drew the gurgling water from its deep. Lizzie plucked purple and rich golden flags, then turned homeward, said, the sunset flushes those furthest loftiest crags. Come, Laura, not another maiden lags, no wilful squirrel wags, the beasts and birds are fast asleep. But Laura loitered still among the rushes, and said the bank was steep, and said the hour was early still, the dew not fallen, the wind not chill, listening ever, but not catching the customary cry, come by, with its iterated jingle of sugar-baited words, not for all her watching, once discerning even one goblin, racing, whisking, tumbling, hobbling, let alone the herd that used to tramp along the glean in groups or single of brisk fruit merchant men. Till Lizzie urged, "O Laura, come, I hear the fruit call, but I dare not look. You should not loiter longer at this brook. Come with me home, the stars rise, the moon bends her arc, each glowworm winks her spark. Let us get home before the night grows dark, for clouds may gather, though this is summer weather. Put out the lights and drench us through. If we lost our way, what should we do?" Laura turned as stone, to find her sister heard the cry alone, that goblin cry, Come buy our fruit, come buy. Must she then buy no more such dainty fruit? Must she no more such pastured find? Gone deaf and blind, her tree of life drooped from the root. She said not one word in her heart's sore ache, but peering through the dimness, not discerning, trudging home, her pitcher dripping all the way. She crept to bed and lay silent till Lizzie slept, then sat up in a passionate yearning and gnashed her teeth for balked desire and wept as if her heart would break. Wine break? Yes, that was needed. So actually what I think I'm going to do is break this in half. So right now we're going to do the single card tarot pull, and if you want to know what happens to Laura and Lizzie, whether or not they end up like Jenny, then stay around to the end of this video and I will finish the poem for you. But I want to go ahead and get into your inspirational reading. So Sagittarius, what inspirational guidance do you need for the month of February? What is speaking to me, to you, through the cards? I'm not really sure. We'll have to find out together. But while I'm shuffling, I'll tell you, the moon is in a first quarter moon, or a third quarter moon, excuse me. And what that means is that it is now time to give back from any abundance you have in your life. Anywhere you have extras, Sagittarius, whether it is money or time, like physical energy to do something for someone, or just to be there for someone in some way. Now is the time to give back. Make sure that you are paying it forward, as they say. The last couple of days it was good to go over excuse me, in your own mind what you've done, what you've accomplished, and how great you've done this year already, and just being proud of all your accomplishments. And now it is time to reflect on those ideals and give where you can. So your card, are you ready? The World. Oh my gosh, that's like really all encompassing. So the World card is a card that indicates a good time to reflect on life, like I was saying, and celebrate any successes that you've had, just like I was saying. I guess the World card could be like a waning gibbous if it was a moon sign. And it encourages you to tie up any loose ends. Make sure that you're, just paying attention to the details, and you're dotting your T's, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, so that you're not leaving things undone. Usually the World card, or sometimes the World card, can even be an indication of achieving a goal, like finally achieving a goal and then being able to reflect and on your success. In this particular instance, the location of this card is what will offer you inspiration. So I definitely feel there is a need to focus on your goals, specifically things, like it says, that are coming to a close, things that you are able to see sort of an end game, to be able to focus on that, reflect on it, but pay attention to what you've done so far. Pay attention to all the hard work you've put into it so far, so that it will give you the inspiration you need to get across that finish line. If you're just looking straight ahead at the finish line, it is so easy to forget how much you have come through. Looking back over your shoulder, it almost be like, oh my God, like how far did I come? What did I accomplish? Like, how did I even do that? I'm just so focused on the end results. So don't get so focused on where you're going and what you're trying to do and the things you see for yourself that you forget what it took to get there. Because I probably say this a lot on the channels, but life is really about the journey. It's not necessarily about the end results. It's about growing through experiences. It's about enjoying the view as you stroll by, really paying attention to the beauty of the process. And, especially now that the moon is transitioning towards a new moon, it's really a good time to do all this anyway, to really be mindful of what you're capable of, mindful of what you've already achieved, and then be able to have gratitude and appreciation to the point where you understand that it's not all about you. It's about others and life and the world in general as well, and how we can better everything together. So as you go about your business through the month of February, I definitely challenge you to make sure you keep this world card in mind, that you're focusing more than just on your goals, but on what your goals mean for you and others, and for how much you've already given to get where you're at. Because really, honestly, that is quite possibly the most important thing that I would ask you to get out of today's reading, is understanding what you have, where you're at, and what it really means to you. What have you gained? Reflect on that. So, if you've come all this way, 21 minutes in, and you want to know what happened to Laura and Lizzie, then it's coming up right now. Day after day, night after night, Laura kept watch in a vain. In sullen silence of exceeding pain, she never caught again the goblin cry, "Come by, come by." She never spied the goblin men hawking their fruits along the glen. But when the noon waxed bright, her hair grew gray and thin. She dwindled as the far full moon doth turn to swift decay and burn her fire away. One day, remembering her kernel stone, she set it by a wall that faced the south, dewed it with tears, hoped for a root, watched for a waxing shoot, but there came none. It never saw the sun, it never felt the trickling moisture run, while with sunk eyes and faded mouth she dreamed of melons as a traveler sees false waves in desert's drouth, with the shade of leaf-crowned trees, and burns the thirstier into sandful breeze. She no more swept the house, tended the fowls or cows, fetched honey, kneaded cakes of wheat, brought water from the brook, but sat down listless in the chimney nook, and would not eat. Tender Lizzie could not bear to watch her sister's cankerous care, yet not to share. She night and morning caught the goblin's cry, "Come buy our orchard fruits, come buy, come buy." Beside the brook along the glen she heard the tramp of goblin men, the voice and stir poor Laura could not hear, longed to buy fruit to comfort her, but feared to pay too dear. She thought of Jenny in her grave, who would have been a bride, but who for joys brides hope to have, fell sick and died in her gay prime, in earliest winter time, with the first glazing rim, with the first snowfall of the crisp winter time. Till Laura dwindling seemed knocking at death's door, then Lizzie weighed no more, better and worse, but put a silver penny in her purse, kissed Laura, crossed the heath with frozen at twilight halted by the brook, and for the first time in her life began to listen and look. Laughed every goblin when they spied her peeping, came toward her hobbling, flying, running, leaping, puffing and blowing, chuckling, clapping, crowing, clucking and gobbling, mopping and mowing, full of airs and graces, pulling wiry faces, do more grimaces, cat-like and rat-like, rattle and wombat-like, snail-paced, in a hurry, parrot-voiced and whistler, helter-skelter, hurry-scurry, chattering like magpies, fluttering like pigeons, gliding like fishes, hugged her, kissed her, squeezed and caressed her, stretched up their dishes, panniers and plates. Look at our apples, russet and dune, bob at the cherries, bite at our peaches, citron and dates, grapes for the asking, pears red with basking, out in the sun, plums on their twigs, pluck them and suck them, pomegranates and figs. Good folks, said Lizzie, mindful of Jenny, give me much and many, held out her apron, tossed them her penny. Nay, set a seat with us, honor and eat with us, they answered grinning. Our feast is but beginning, night yet is early, warm dew and pearly, wakeful and starry, such fruits as these no man can carry. Half their blooming would fly, half their dew would dry, half their flavor would pass by. Sit down and feast with us, be welcome guest with us, cheer you and rest with us. Thank you, said Lizzie, but one waits at home for me. So without further parleying, if you will not sell me any of your fruits through much and many, give me back my silver penny I tossed you for a fee. They begged to scratch her their pats, no longer waging and purring, but visibly demurring, grunting and snarling. One called her proud, cross-veined and uncivil, they toned waxed loud, their looks were evil, lashing their tails, they trod and hustled her, elbowed and jostled her, clawed with their nails, barking and mewing and hissing and mocking, tore her gown and soiled her stocking, twitched with her hair by the root, stamped upon her tender feet, held her hands and squeezed their fruit against her mouth to make her eat. White and golden Lizzie stood, like a lily in a flood, like a rock of blue-veined stone, lashed by tides obstreperously, like the beacon left alone in a hurrying, roaring sea, sending up the golden fire, like a fruit-crowned orange tree, white with blossoms honey-sweet, sore beset by wasps and bees, like the royal virgin town, topped with gilded domes and spires, close beleaguered by a fleet, mad to tug her standard down. One may lead a horse to water, 20 cannot make him drink, though the goblins cuffed and caught her, coaxed and fought her, bullied and besought her, scratched her, pinched her black as ink, kicked and knocked her, mauled and mocked her. Lizzie uttered not a word, would not open lip from lip, lest they should cram in a mouthful in, but laughed in her heart to feel the drip of juice that syruped all her face, and lodged the dimplings of her chin, and streaked her neck, which quaked like curd. At last the evil people, worn out by her resistance, flung back her penny, kicked their fruit along whichever road they took, not leaving root or stone or shoot. Some withered into the ground, some dived into the brook with ring and ripple, some scudded on the gale without a sound, some vanished in the distance. In a smart ache tingle, Lizzie went her way, knew not was it night or day, sprang up the bank, tore through the verse, threaded copse and dingle, and heard her penny jingle, bouncing in her purse. Its bounce was music to her ears. She ran and ran, as if she feared the goblin man dodged her in the gipe or curse, or something worse. But not one goblin scurried after, nor was she prickled by fear. The kind heart made her windy paced, that urged her home quite out of breath with haste and inward laughter. She cried, "Laura!" up the garden. "Did you miss me? Come and kiss me. Never mind my bruises. Hug me, kiss me. Suck my juices. Squeeze from the goblin's fruits for you. Goblin plump and goblin do. Eat me, drink me, love me. Laura, make much of me. For your sake I have braved the gleam, and had to do with goblin merchant men." Laura started from her chair, flung her arms up in the air, clutched her hair. "Lizzie, Lizzie, have you tasted, for my sake, the fruit forbidden? Must your light like mine be hidden? Your young life like mine be wasted? Undone in mine undoing, and ruined by my ruin, thirsty, crackered, goblin ridden." She clung about her sister, kissed and kissed and kissed her, tears once again refreshing her sunken face, dropping like rain after long sultry drought. Shaking with anguish, fear, and pain, she kissed and kissed her with a hungry mouth. Her lips began to scorch, that juice was wormwood on her tongue. She loathed the feast, writhing as one possessed, she leaped and sung, rent all her robe and wrung her hands in lamenting haste, and beat her breast. Her locks streamed like the torch borne by the racer at full speed, or like the mane of horses in their flight, or like an eagle when she stems the night straight towards the sun, or like the caged things freed, or like the flying flag of armies run. Swift fire spread through her veins, knocked at her heart, met the fire smoldering there, and the overbore its lesser flame. She gorged on bitterness without a name. Ah, fool, the choice such part of soul-consuming care, since failed in the mortal strife, like the watchtower of a town, which an earthquake shatters down, like a lightning-stricken mast, like a wind-uprooted tree, spun about, like a foam-topped waterspout, cast down headlong in the sea. She fell at last, pleasure past and anguish past. Is it death or is it life? Life out of death. That night long Lizzie watched her by, counted her pulses' flagging stir, felt for her breath, held water to her lips, and cooled her face with tears and fainting leaves. But when the first birds chirped about the eaves, and early reapers plodded to the place of golden sheaves, and dew-wet grass bowed in the morning winds by brisk pass, and new buds with a new day opened a cup like lilies in the stream, Laura awoke as if from a dream, laughed in an innocent old way, hugged Lily, but not twice or thrice. Her gleaming locks showed not one thread of gray. Her breath was sweet as May, and light danced in her eyes. Days, weeks, months, years afterwards, when both were wives with children of their own, their mother hearts beset with fears, their lives bound up in tender lives, Laura would call the little ones and tell them of her early prime, those pleasant days long gone, of not returning time, would talk about the haunted glen, the wicked, quaint fruit merchant men, their fruits like honey in the throat, but poison in the blood. Men sell not such in any town, would tell them how her sister stood in deadly peril to do her good, and win the fiery antidote, then joining hands to little hands would bid them cling together, for there is no friend like a sister in calm or stormy weather, to cheer one on the tedious way, to fetch one if one goes astray, to lift one if one totters down, to strengthen whilst one stands. Thank you for listening to today's video. I hope you enjoyed the poem. It's definitely been a very interesting story that I've really enjoyed bringing to you. I hope the card of the world is an inspiration to you, Sagittarius, will bring you such a renewed spirit, and if you've made it this far, please subscribe. You know you want to. I'll see you later.